Hello and welcome back to Viper Bites. And I'm Matt Donnelly. And if you're here for prospect profiles, you have definitely come to the right place because now we are going to talk about North Carolina quarterback Sam Howell. But before we dive into this one here, take a second, rate and review us, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever podcasting platform that you're listening to us on. And if you're watching us on the Vipers YouTube channel here, make sure to take a second, hit that thumbs up, hit that notification button, and make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss any of the content coming your way. But let's talk about this Carolina ball slinger himself, Sam Howell, four-star recruit out of Sun Valley High School in North Carolina, and the number 3 pro-style quarterback in the country coming out of high school. He finished his high school career going 805 for 1,361 for 13,415 yards and 145 touchdowns, while also adding 3,621 rushing yards and 60 touchdowns. He also set the North Carolina record in total yards with 17,036. He ranked second in state history in passing yards. He was named the 2018 North Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year following his senior season. Hey, this dude is built like a running back for all intents and purposes. 6'1", 220 pounds. He's not that prototypical quarterback that we see, that 6'3", 6'4 guy. He is a stout 6'1", 220 pounds. QBR, 79.3, 70th percentile. College yards per attempt, 10.3. That was in the 95th percentile. Breakout age, he broke out at 19 years old. That is in the 91st percentile. And let's talk about that 2019 season. Let's talk about him breaking out at 19 years old. In 2019, Howell immediately made an impact, being named the ACC Offensive and Overall Rookie of the Year. FWAA freshman All-American and third team All-ACC after throwing for 3,641 yards and completing 61.4% of his passes his freshman year. It also didn't hurt that he had a pair of 1,000-yard receivers. Now, those guys, they tend to make things a little bit easier for a young quarterback. Now, Howell, he also set FBS true freshman records and UNC school records with 38 touchdown passes. His 38 touchdown passes are the third most in a season in the ACC in the history of that conference, and the second most by a freshman quarterback, and we're also the fourth most nationally and the most in the ACC that season. In 2020, he threw for 30 touchdowns to only 7 interceptions, completing a career-high 68% of those passes, accumulating 3,586 yards, while on his way to being named a finalist for the Manning Award and second team All-ACC. Now, those 3,586 passing yards, that led the ACC and that ranked 4th in the nation. Those 30 touchdown passes, that was 6th in the nation. In 2021, Howell had to make do with the departures of NFL caliber players Javonte Williams, Michael Carter, Daz Newsome, Dyami Brown, and yet he was still able to find himself a 1,000-yard receiver in Josh Downs. Now, remember the name. That's going to be huge in the next couple of years as well. Howell completed just 62.5% of his passes on his way to throwing for 3,056 yards and 24 touchdowns. He also threw 9 interceptions last season. Now, statistically speaking, this was his worst season to date. That said, he also ran for 828 yards and scored 11 rushing touchdowns. Now, when we look at rushing in college, keep in mind that sack yardage that goes against you, that goes against your rushing yards as well. So he was really somewhere in the 1,000 yards as far as rushing is concerned. He also had those 11 rushing touchdowns and was one of 3 Power 5 quarterbacks to throw for 20 touchdowns and rush for at least 10. That rushing ability helped him rank 9th nationally with 323.7 yards of offense total per game and placing 3rd nationally among FBS quarterbacks. Let's look at his career totals, those accolades, those achievements at North Carolina. North Carolina record holder in pretty much everything. Passing yards, career, 10,283. Passing yards per game, career, 5th all-time in the ACC, 277.9. 92 touchdowns, that's 3rd all-time in the ACC. Consecutive games with a passing touchdown, 37 consecutive games. Now, when we look at his total offense in the career, 11,292. That is 8th all-time in the ACC. Now, let's look at what the scouts are looking at. Let's talk about strengths. Let's talk about weaknesses here. For as far as strengths are concerned, He has a good arm to make those throws off platform, especially when he gets into that kind of the playground, kind of sandlot type of game, and he's looking for that deep ball. Goes through progressions and combinations while willing to find late reads across the field. His decision-making has been much better and has been key throughout his career. Percentage of career interceptions that have come in the red zone for this incoming rookie class, Sam Howell, 4.3%. Now, we look at some of these other quarterbacks. Pickett, 9.6. Ritter, 17.8. Malik Willis, 22.2. Matt Corral, 27.2. Confidence shows up on the field, and his teammates feed off of that. Now, let's look at some of the weaknesses here that scouts have been picking apart here. Now, his throws, they can be a little bit late. They can be a little flat, especially when targeting post and post-corner routes. He doesn't quite get his lower body into every throw, and he tries to muscle everything in there, and throws, they tend to get away from him from time to time. In 2021, among quarterbacks with 50-plus dropbacks, Howell was responsible for 27.5 of the times in which he was sacked. Now, if you don't want to get sacked, make sure you're heading over to fantasypoints.com. Get that 2022 NFL prospect guide, 200-plus rookie profiles, courtesy of Greg Cassell of NFL Films. You get film analysis, strengths, weaknesses, NFL transitions, measurables, combine results, mock drafts, and rankings. Rankings from Wes Huber, too. So, hey, you want it, you got it. And if you want something else, when you're at fantasypoints.com, use promo code Vipers22 and get 10% off that subscription. Now let's get back to Sam Howell. Now, when I do my final analysis and talk about what Sam Howell does, Howell has a tendency to try and force some throws from time to time. The mind is willing, but the body isn't always quite as able. Now, which is causing for us a little bit of concern here when looking at his accuracy and that ball placement. There are times on the film in which his receivers, they have to break stride to make a play on the ball. Now, Howell possesses that dual threat ability that we seem to admire in the position these days. And with that mobility, he has the ability to extend plays in order to get to that third and fourth read and attack defenses vertically. Now, in the red zone, if DBs, if they turn their back on him, he is always a threat to run the ball, especially in the red zone, which he basically becomes a pinball wizard, bouncing off defenders. Now, has anyone ever actually seen Sam Howell and Baker Mayfield in the same room? Like, seriously, put up their profile pictures side by side. It's pretty much the same guy. If you want to make sure you're staying on top of everything in the NFL these days, I told you already once, turn on those notifications on the Vipers Network, because when trades are going down, when signings are happening, we are breaking it all down for you and what it all means for fantasy football. So make sure you're tuning in, because there's plenty more content coming down here in the next few weeks. We'll see you next time.